Paradoxes are what truly unveil the truth. Neil Spohr. Sometimes questions aren't meant to have answers. They exist to shake your sure footing, challenging what you believe reality to be. These aren't riddles or clever plays on words. They're genuine clashes between logic and the universe, consistently defying resolution. This video isn't just a list of curious facts. It's a journey into the deepest tensions in science, the spots where our best theories fall apart. You'll encounter time loops that close without even opening, civilizations that seem like they should be everywhere yet remain missing, and moments where the act of observing actually alters what you're looking at. You'll come across cats that are both alive and dead, billiard balls colliding with themselves, and black holes that might just be erasing history itself. Each idea starts out simple, but once you trace it to its logical conclusion, something falls apart. And that's the intriguing part. Space seems calm, but it masks a question that's anything but serene. We live in a galaxy with hundreds of billions of stars, most older than our sun. We've learned many of these stars host planets, and quite a few might have Earth-like conditions. Warm enough for water, stable enough for life, old enough for intelligent beings to have evolved. So, where is everyone? We've listened patiently, with giant radio telescopes scanning the sky for decades, hoping to catch a whisper, a signal, any hint of artificiality. But we've found only silence, deep, unending silence, like shouting across a canyon and hearing nothing back. Not because no one's there, but maybe because something else is happening. Statistically, we shouldn't be alone. Numbers suggest intelligent life should have emerged numerous times in numerous places. Even with cautious estimates, there ought to be hundreds, maybe thousands, of civilizations in our galaxy alone. Yet, there's not a verified signal to show for it, not a single undeniable trace. Just stars, just vast emptiness. This contradiction has a name, but it doesn't need a name to be felt. It's the kind of question that lingers late at night when you find yourself gazing at the vast sky. It challenges the idea that life naturally results in technology, that intelligence inevitably leads to communication, that progress is a given. Maybe civilizations rise and fall too quickly to be noticed. Maybe they self-destruct before venturing beyond their world. Or perhaps they're out there, observing quietly, choosing to remain unseen. There's another possibility, one heavier than the rest. Maybe we're truly the first. That thought changes everything. It makes humanity something fragile, something rare. It means we're not only on a quest to find others, we're also caretakers of something that might not exist elsewhere. A voice waiting to be heard before silence swallows it. If that thought makes the stars seem colder or the silence more intense, you're not alone. Subscribe to Late Science. More questions are waiting, and none of them have ready answers. When the sky stays quiet for ages, it stops feeling empty and starts feeling intentional. Not too long ago, Earth was the only planet we knew with the right ingredients for life. Just a delicate blue dot circling a modest star, thought to be one of a kind and isolated. But that idea has been shattered. Thanks to advancements in telescopes and sky surveys, it's clear that our galaxy is teeming with planets, hundreds of billions of them. Among those, Earth-like worlds are more common than we once thought. Data from the Kepler mission backs it up. Throughout the Milky Way, there might be over 300 million rocky planets orbiting sun-like stars in the so-called habitable zone. Not just one or two, but hundreds of millions. Planets with oceans, sunlight, and time. Even if only a tiny fraction sparked biology, and an even smaller number led to sentient life, we should be seeing some signs. Bits of communication, traces of machines, relics showing that someone else has been here. Yet, silence prevails. This isn't some romantic silence. It's a stunning contradiction. It's math that challenges your perspective. Space isn't just vast, it's ancient. Some of these stars are billions of years older than our sun. That's more than ample time for life to evolve, build civilizations, and reach out through the stars. If it happened even once, even in one place, why do we see nothing? It starts to feel like walking into a huge cathedral and realizing you're the only one in it. The air should echo with voices and footsteps, but it's eerily quiet. The more you learn about how crowded the universe should be, the stranger that silence feels. There are theories, of course. Maybe intelligent life doesn't last long, or maybe it hides. Perhaps it's so spread out that contact is unrealistic. But every explanation brings another problem. Each answer breeds more questions. Why does it feel like we showed up late to a party that never occurred? If imagining hundreds of millions of Earths with no answer makes your own life feel more delicate or special, hit the like button and subscribe to Late Science. We're just starting to tally the things we can't explain. And if countless worlds hold life, why does ours feel like the only one under observation? Sometimes our confusion doesn't come from missing data, but from overthinking. That's what happened in 1961, when an astronomer tried to make sense of a mystery with a formula. The equation wasn't a solution, but a way to lay out the factors. How many stars are born each year? How many host planets? How many can support life? Of those, how many actually develop it? How many life forms gain intelligence? How many intelligent beings create detectable technology? And how long do their civilizations last? Multiply it all, and you get a rough estimate, a number that suggests how many alien civilizations should be broadcasting in our galaxy right now. And here's the twist that never adds up. Even with the most conservative figures, the answer usually isn't zero. According to the Drake equation, we should be surrounded, bathed in radio waves, whispers from every corner, signals crafted with intention. Yet, again, silence. So we revisit the formula, trying to understand it. Maybe we were too optimistic. Maybe life's emergence is rare. Maybe intelligent life is scarce. Or perhaps the last variable, a civilization's lifespan, is where it all falls apart. How long do we last? There are two chilling explanations for the silence. One is terrifying, the other is even worse. The first imagines a galaxy that's not empty, but watched over by vast, intelligent civilizations scattered among the stars. But all of them are hidden away, listening, waiting, and absolutely dreading being found. Not because they're paranoid, but they've learned things we haven't yet discovered. This paints a picture of the universe as a dark forest. Every species acts like a hunter. Each planet is a potential hiding spot. Once you make yourself known, like sending a signal, emitting light, or leaving any trace, you put yourself at risk. In a vast space where you have no idea who or what might be out there, keeping quiet seems to be the smartest move. When something makes noise, it vanishes. That's probably why we've heard nothing. Maybe the others exist, but they're not making a peep. They're observing us, wondering if we're clever enough to stay quiet or foolish enough to call out into the darkness. It's a grim theory, but one that fits the facts. No signals, no contact, just countless stars seemingly silent. Another possibility is there's nothing out there, not because it's hiding or dangerous, but simply because we're alone. This is the image of an empty ocean, huge and silent, not because it's staying quiet, but because there's simply no one else there. We could be the first ones to venture this far, or the only ones who learned to build a ship. Both these possibilities explain the silence. Both are profoundly unsettling. If the galaxy is crowded with watchers, then we're surely being observed. And if it's empty, then we're all there is, the sole witness, the last chance. If we fail, nothing remains afterward. So, we keep listening, and we wonder what kind of galaxy this is. A forest filled with threats, or a sea too vast for voices to carry across? If either of those concepts gave you the chills, consider subscribing to Late Science. This is just the beginning. We haven't even touched on the toughest questions yet. Perhaps the most frightening thing isn't that they're quiet, but that they never existed at all. We once thought we were the center of it all. Then we learned Earth circles the sun, that the sun is just one among billions of stars, that our galaxy is just one among trillions. And yet, somehow, we still thought we couldn't be alone. But all this silence is beginning to shift that notion. It's not just that we haven't found intelligent life, it's that we keep uncovering more and more reasons to think we should have. More planets capable of supporting life, more time, more technological advancements, more opportunities. Yet, the universe remains quiet. It's not whispering, it's not murmuring, it's dead silent. An odd feeling comes with that. It's not exactly fear. It's not pure wonder either. It's a kind of cosmic loneliness, a sense that the immense beyond is real and no one else is witnessing it with us. But perhaps silence doesn't imply emptiness. Perhaps it signals fragility. If life is rare, then we might be holding something beyond precious. If intelligence doesn't endure, we may be just a fleeting glimmer in the dark, one that could vanish as easily as it came to be. And if we are the first, then we're more than just observers. We're the experiment, the initial voice in the void. That means not only do we get to ponder where the others might be, but we also have to consider what kind of narrative we're creating for the future. What kind of legacy are we building or neglecting for the adventurers who might someday discover what we've left behind? Maybe that's why this silence weighs so heavily. It turns everything back onto us. We don't hear from aliens because perhaps we're meant to hear ourselves. It's a warning. It's an opportunity. It's a responsibility. If the notion that we're the only conscious beings looking out into the cosmos makes you feel somewhat smaller or more awake, hit subscribe to Late Science. This is where awe and fear coexist, because in a universe filled with noise, silence is the one thing you don't expect. And sometimes, silence is the loudest reply. Time feels like the most constant thing we know. It marches forward, never back. Seconds tick by, days conclude, causes lead to effects. Yet there's a peculiar fracture hidden beneath this rhythm. Imagine there's a chance time doesn't just flow, it might loop around. That's where things get tricky. What if it's a literal loop in time? You snag something from the future, drop it in the past, and that item becomes the reason it exists. There's no true start, no creation moment, just a never-ending cycle without an origin. It's like a story that spins over and again. This is a fundamental contradiction in physics, one that challenges not just what's possible, but the very meaning of existence. Picture this. You stroll into a bookstore, pick up a copy of Hamlet, and then one day you build a time machine. On a whim, you travel back to Shakespeare's era, hand him the book. He reads, loves it, claims it. Centuries pass, and that exact same copy lands back in that bookstore you first visited. So, who actually wrote it? It didn't appear out of thin air, yet it didn't come from anywhere specific either. These loops have a term, though that doesn't make them easier to grasp. It's a cycle where cause and effect become indistinguishable. An object or piece of information exists not because it was created, but because the loop remains unbroken. It sounds like a wild thought experiment, but remember, general relativity doesn't dismiss it. Einstein's equations allow for closed time loops, paths in space-time that curl back around. Under certain circumstances, you could revisit your own past and take something with you. It doesn't just sound bizarre, it challenges everything. If time can behave this way, then maybe nothing is truly original. Not ideas, not inventions, not even us. Time turns into a spiral staircase, not a straight path, where you keep climbing and periodically pass the same spot. And this time, you're the one clutching the book. If this makes time feel more like a snare than a clock, consider subscribing to Late Science. The more we explore, the more time seems to fold in on itself. Maybe what we call the beginning is just the loop's midpoint. You give the book to Shakespeare. He remembers, publishes it as his own. Hamlet turns into a masterpiece taught for generations, printed, performed, revered. Centuries after, you enter a bookstore, pick up the same book. You take it back in time. The loop completes. No one penned it. This is the crux of the issue. Not just an object lacking origin, but information that survives through time without ever being created. There was no spark, no author at a desk, no mind behind the lines. The story exists because it always has, because it never hasn't. And that disrupts something essential. Our world rests on the belief that everything has roots. Thoughts from minds, machines from inventors, music from composers. But in this loop, the origins disappear, yet the thing remains. It makes you question what else could exist this way. A scientific formula, a technological plan, a piece of knowledge that appears in one mind and travels back, returning unchanged. A flawless circle, like a song endlessly playing without a composer. Physics doesn't deny this. Einstein's relativity doesn't rule out time loops. Some solutions, especially those with extreme gravity or hypothetical ideas like wormholes, make scenarios possible where past and future collide. That opens the door to self-created objects and events where cause and effect blur together into a single, unending ribbon. But it also introduces a darker idea. What if we're trapped in one of these loops? What if an idea, part of our culture, a technology, or a belief, didn't originate here, now, or even from us? What if we're just holding the torch from a future that already knew our steps? If time loops like this are possible, then inventing turns into remembering, and history becomes a practice run. Questioning the roots of your current thoughts might lead you to subscribe to late science. We're not just advancing, we could be circling around familiar grounds. Maybe some things exist only because they've never been absent. Think of time as a flat, clean piece of paper. You can draw a neat line from past to present and project it into the future. But what if that paper folds? What if what should be years apart suddenly touches? That's what a closed time loop does. An object doesn't simply move through time. It steps outside the timeline, bends it, linking the end back to the beginning, like a universe folding in on itself, bringing yesterday and tomorrow side by side. Sounds abstract, but some interpretations of Einstein's equations suggest such things could happen. Near spinning black holes, under precise conditions, or via theoretical wormholes, time doesn't have to follow one path. It can loop, fold in on itself, like a piece of origami. When that happens, the bizarre starts making sense. Imagine sending a violin back in time. A composer from the past discovers it, composes music, which then gains fame. The violin is preserved, passed down the ages, until one day you find it and send it back again. No original maker or moment of creation, just a continuous loop, a structure folded perfectly onto itself. These loops stay consistent without damaging the timeline. They maintain it. As long as events don't conflict, the loop can endlessly persist. There's no need for explanations because the loop is the explanation. But this seemingly simple idea hides something deeply unusual. If time can fold like this, then what is a memory? What is an invention? What separates discovering something from receiving it from a future you haven't experienced yet? Maybe this isn't just fiction. Perhaps a belief you hold, something you've read, thought of, or created, isn't as original as you think. Maybe you're just a fold in the paper, a crease in the map, and the idea has been time traveling back to you. This reshapes our view of progress. We might not be building ideas, just receiving them. We're not inventors, but messengers. And if time can fold this way, how many folds are we unknowingly standing on? If this shifted your perspective on your thoughts, consider subscribing to Late Science. A seemingly straight path might reveal itself as the edge of a spiral, because sometimes time doesn't march forward. Sometimes it doubles back and hands you something unfinished. Some systems can't handle too much information. Hold a microphone too near a speaker and you'll hear it, the rising screech as a loop forms. Sound enters, amplifies, re-enters, and grows until it collapses in its own echo. Now, picture reality doing something similar. In certain time models, events create feedback loops, not through repetition, but because an effect becomes its own cause. The future reaches back, influences the past, and together they form the present. It's not a linear story, but a circuit. Imagine a physicist who receives the finalized shape of a groundbreaking equation from her future self. She studies, comprehends, publishes it, and eventually sends it back. The knowledge just is. It's handy to ponder, but seriously, where did it originate? This loop kind of just keeps feeding itself, smooth as butter. No contradictions, no mess-ups, just a neat recursive cycle, a stable paradox. In the quantum mechanics realm, this logic is getting some serious attention. A few researchers think that information in the universe doesn't always travel in a straight line. Rather, the past, present, and future might get tangled together with future happenings shaping what's already happened. You end up with systems that only become real when they're observed, and events that only happen if the timeline remains unbroken. They call it post-selection, and it throws a wrench in our usual cause and effect thinking. These loops aren't random mistakes, but rather rules guiding everything. Some folks believe nature only lets the coherent realities stick around. Those tangled up paradoxes that don't compute, they just don't stabilize. Only the narratives that make sense remain standing, suggesting reality edits itself on the fly. You're not just moving forward through life. You're part of this loop, always checking if your choices, memories, and thoughts align. If they don't fit, that loop won't form. That version of you? Poof, never happened. What you get is something way different from a straight shot through time. A reality powered by feedback, always bouncing back, signaling to itself, always circling around. No real starts, no final exits. It's an ongoing, self-fulfilling cycle. If thinking about this turned your idea of time into a loop, you might want to tune into late science, because this thing we call reality is probably less of a storyline and more like an ongoing equation working to resolve itself. And if the universe is actually tuning into itself, perhaps we're here to round off the loop. We usually think of the past like the unshakable ground everything's built on, coming first and causing what unfolds now. But what if that's not totally accurate? What if the past isn't just where things began, but also where they end up? This isn't just daydreaming. It's a legit mind-bending result in the realm of physics. In certain quantum mechanics interpretations, and even in how we model some space-time puzzles, the present is not just crafted by the past. It's also shaped by what the future needs to become. Take a quantum system, a particle that exists in multiple potential states. It's all hazy, undefined, until you measure it. But here's the twist. In a few experiments, the outcome isn't only about how you set things up, it's also about what you choose to do next. Once the system evolves, that future choice pokes its influence back into the past. That backward effect isn't just a fancy thought experiment, it's logged into the equations. It's as if the particle isn't just waiting to be looked at, but also watching to see what kind of future it might land in, then reshaping its past to fit that future. And we're not just talking tiny particles. Some scientists think even big systems, like our bodies and choices, might live within this larger, consistent loop. The past you recall could be just one of a bazillion options, the one that aligns with the ending that needed to happen. In this view, time isn't some one-track, ahead-only river. It's more like a sprawling web, with the present being a point in the mesh, tugged from both the past and the future. Yank too much in one direction and watch it jingle. The future doesn't just spring from the past, it sculpts the path in reverse. You can see why this doesn't sit well with everyone. It suggests we live in a world where free will, memories, and even who we are all depend on conditions, where the past is anything but set until the future needs it to be. Plus, it implies the universe isn't forging ahead towards something, but rather finding a balance, settling into a shape where all parts click together. When cause and effect turn into structure, you have to ask, if the past's only real because the future needs it, then who the heck are we right now? Reflecting on your own life might feel different now. If you're interested in these kinds of thoughts, consider joining Late Science. The most puzzling aspect of time isn't what it becomes, but how it selects what's already occurred. Perhaps our memories are just the future relying on its past. You create a device to travel back in time. You aren't just a spectator, you're a participant. The focus isn't some historical leader, but your own grandfather. Not as an act of vengeance, but as an experiment with destiny. If you succeed, causing his death before your parent is born, you'd never come into existence. And if you were never born, you couldn't have used the time machine. If you didn't travel back, he survives, and you exist. You then step back into the machine. The cycle repeats, with the knife again in your hand. This isn't just a loop, it's a contradiction that's part of reality, an action that undoes itself, a wound that simultaneously heals and splits open. People call this the grandfather paradox, but it isn't just a story. It's a major challenge to the concept of time travel. If altering the past can destroy the present, then the timeline is not stable. It's vulnerable, likely to collapse. Physics has issues with that. It suggests various outcomes. One is straightforward. Time travel just can't happen, not due to logical issues, but because an unstable system wouldn't function. Reality would fail to load properly. Another suggests time circumvents changes. No matter your attempts, the timeline reshapes itself. The gun jams, doubt sets in, someone steps in. Something always prevents change. It's not about fate, just the law of consistency. Try all you want to alter the past, but all you achieve is maintaining it as is. Then there's a mind-boggling thought. Interfering splits the universe. You don't alter your past, you spawn a parallel one, a new timeline where you're stuck, a shadow of another history. Your original timeline carries on, untouchable and unaffected. And gradually, the knife in your grasp feels symbolic, a challenge to reality's allowance of choice. If contemplating time's resistance intrigues you, consider subscribing to Late Science. We're delving deep where rules blur. Some mysteries don't conclude with closure. They unravel with contradictions that unsettle and perplex. That's what unravels when you chase the grandfather paradox to its limit. Twisting outcomes only end in dissolution. You travel back and undo the circumstances for your own birth. Yet in doing so, you erase the traveler. The action cancels itself out, a loop that closes and resets, a narrative that removes its storyteller. This is the nightmare of causality. Unlike theoretical loops, this paradox isn't quiet, it's explosive. Physics resents it, and logic dismisses it. Still, the potential lingers because while time might allow a backward glance, it resists contradiction. That's why scientists propose a kind of cosmic narrative fix. Some label it self-consistency, others call it cosmic censorship. Either way, the notion remains. Events may intertwine and loop, but can't disrupt the story. Go back, yes, but only to fulfill a role in what's already written. Deviate, and reality pulls you back into its fold. You confront your grandfather, raise your hand, but then something intervenes, a surprising coincidence or twist of fate. a failure. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just needs to erase the contradiction. You can't alter the past. Instead, you become part of it. Time travel feels less like control and more like a choreographed dance. You can move around, but only within the preset lines. You're not disrupting the story, but completing it. If that's true, and paradoxes can't exist, then free will feels almost like an illusion. Your choices might only be real if they fit into some unbroken loop. There's no risk of ruining time because time already knows your actions. Still, the contradiction hangs in the air. What if there's no fix, no resistance, just a rip? A bold move or a moment that logic can't handle? Then what happens? Does time break apart? Does a new path form? Or does everything just stop? If the thought of a story crumbling under its own contradiction leaves a crack in your thoughts, subscribe to Late Science. Because somewhere, hidden in all these loops and splits, there might be a secret pattern. Maybe the reason the past seems so unchangeable is that we never broke it. There's a peculiar idea behind every paradox that suggests the universe has standards, won't allow contradictions, and underneath all the noise and chaos, there's an editor quietly removing impossible stories before they spread. Picture time as more than just a record of events, but as a manuscript writing itself. The laws aren't just about physics. They're about keeping narratives stable. When something threatens to tear the story apart, a paradox, a contradiction, someone dying before their time, the timeline corrects itself, not with magic, but with constraint. In physics, this is known as the Novikov self-consistency principle. It's the idea that any event in a time loop must be consistent with itself. In other words, time might allow loops, but never contradictions. You can travel back in time, interact, but you can't alter the results. You can only carry them out. It's not that you lack freedom, it's that your freedom is already embedded in the past you're trying to change. It sounds like destiny. It feels like you're stuck in a script, a character who thinks he's improvising, but is really saying the same lines every time. This principle has unsettling implications. It hints that the past isn't just resistant to change, it's immune to it. Try to alter it, and you'll find the gun jams, or you miss, or something stops you. Not due to magic, but logic. Because paradoxes just can't exist, and the universe has already figured out your failure. But what if, instead of fixing the timeline to avoid a paradox, the universe lets it create a split? This is where things crack open. Some theories propose that a contradiction doesn't get resolved. It gets separated. You create a new timeline, a parallel reality, where your impossible action unfolds. The original timeline stays the same, but now you're in a new one, alone in a version of history that wasn't meant to happen, and you can never return. So, either the timeline bends around your actions, or it breaks away from them. In both scenarios, something is lost. The dream of complete freedom. If this makes the past seem more like a locked door than a path you can retrace, hit subscribe to Late Science. The deeper we go, the more time feels alive, not just flowing, but thinking. And if the universe truly edits itself to avoid paradox, what happens when even the editor slips up? You take a step. Simple, insignificant. But what if that step, or the pause before it, splits the universe in two. One version of you keeps moving forward, the other remains still. Imagine two timelines branching off forever. It's not just a fancy metaphor or a storytelling trick. It's an actual setup of our universe, limitless, stretching out from decisions you never thought mattered. This is what the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics is all about. It doesn't just hint at alternate realities, it insists on them. On the quantum level, particles are like bundles of possibilities. Take a photon. It doesn't just head left or right, it does both until someone checks. A particle isn't resting in one spot, it's spread across potential outcomes. But when you step in to measure it, you only spot one version, one reality, one outcome. So, what about the others? Well, according to many worlds, they occur too. Every possibility is real somewhere. If it's true for particles, it holds for you as well. For every decision, big or small, whether it was a word you spoke or kept in, a person you bumped into or missed, you're living all those versions somewhere out there. It's a spooky kind of freedom knowing your life's not a single line, but an ever-branching tree. Your regrets exist out there somewhere. So do your successes. So does the version of you that never materialized. Wishing you could go back and change something, fix an error, save someone, reverse a choice, doesn't overwrite the timeline. Rather, it creates a new fork, a fresh path to journey down. The past stays put, unchanged, forever out of reach. This solves the paradox problem. You could kill your grandfather in one timeline, but your original self, the one who embarked on the trip, still hails from a timeline where he lived. The contradiction morphs into a mere detour. But now the game changes. Every action carries weight, here and elsewhere. Every choice reverberates, forging its own universe. If this is the case, you've already spun off countless realities from thoughts you barely acknowledged, moments you scarcely recall. If this revelation leaves you feeling less like a player in someone else's story and more like the creator of a cosmic library, consider checking out. Late science. The choices never cease. The tree keeps on branching, and another you is out there, pondering if your choice was better. Have you ever felt slightly off upon waking up? The room's unchanged, memories intact, yet you can't shake the feeling that some decision from yesterday or years ago didn't play out as it should have. That sensation, that weird dislocation, might be nothing, or it could be the reverberation of a parallel reality, a version of you that made a different choice and now lives a life you'll never glimpse. In the many worlds perspective, you're not a single line of consciousness. You're a node, one observer among infinite versions of yourself, each on a separate limb of the quantum tree. Oddly enough, the you reading this may not be the original version. Once the universe splits, all branches are equally real. No timeline is more genuine than another. They all unfold with equal gravity. The only distinction is that this is the timeline you recall. But memory isn't foolproof. In some theories, even your awareness shifts subtly as reality diverges. You wouldn't perceive the shift because you experience continuity, yet, perhaps, something deep inside recognizes that another you made another choice, now observing from a different branch. Quantum computers already play within these ideas, executing calculations via superposed states and employing entanglement to simultaneously process multiple outcomes. It's not magic, it's physics, and it hints that maybe the mind isn't a closed-off circle but a sprawling, ever-evolving song resonating across unseen harmonics. Perhaps déjà vu, perhaps dreams. All these could be brushes with the fringes of the choices we haven't made. If that idea hits you deep inside, like a memory you never actually had, like a shadowy version of yourself blinking in the dark, then give this video a thumbs up. You're likely not the only one like you watching this. See, you didn't just walk down a path, you became the path. Picture a box, sealed tightly. Now inside, you've got a cat, a little radioactive atom, a vial of poison, and a triggering gadget. When the atom decays, it sets off the poison. The cat dies. If the atom doesn't decay, the cat survives. And you don't take a peek. You just wait. The big question is, before you open the box, is the cat alive or dead? Common sense says it's gotta be one or the other, but quantum physics begs to differ. In this scenario, the atom exists in a superposition, both decayed and undecayed. The cat, now linked with the atom, ends up in a weird in-between state too, alive yet dead, until you make that observation. This is what makes one of the most famous thought experiments in physics so intriguing, not because of the grim aspect, but because it shows something profoundly unsettling. It implies that merely observing doesn't just uncover reality, it actually creates it. Before you peek inside, the cat is in a quantum haze, alive and dead at the same time. But once you look, one option becomes your truth, while the other vanishes. Yet, in the many worlds interpretation, it doesn't just vanish. The moment you pop open that box, the universe branches. In one version, you see a living cat. In another, a dead one. Both results persist, not just theoretically, but structurally. Somewhere, there's a version of you grieving. Somewhere else, you're relieved. You're the observer, the line that divides. This isn't just about the cat trapped in a box. It's every unclear moment, every coin toss, every fork in the road, every waiting for results, for calls, for answers. Each moment was a decision point, a box you didn't crack open until it was too late to change. In this world, you witness one outcome, but the others, they're continuing their stories. If that insight makes all your life's unopened boxes feel heavier, like the universe is whispering from another dimension, and like the cat's never gone, then go ahead and like the video. Because this isn't just a physics puzzle, it's a reflection. And perhaps the creepiest thing isn't if the cat lives or dies, but knowing that somewhere it's both. In quantum mechanics, these periods aren't just about waiting. They're about suspension, where outcomes don't merely linger next to each other, they exist in their own unique way, at least until someone observes. Here's the twist that physicists are still grappling with. Observation doesn't just disclose what's there, it sets it in stone, collapsing the possibilities into one fixed reality. But what if you're what causes this collapse? Not just your eyes, not just a device, your consciousness. It's one of the more unsettling notions tucked within physics, suggesting that the observer isn't just along for the ride. You're not merely watching the universe play out. You're actively shaping it. Your act of observing decides what's real. Some refer to this as the measurement problem, but labeling it a problem doesn't solve it. The math is clear. Before measurement, particles lack definite positions. They exist in overlapping states only to settle into a clear outcome when something or someone observes. It's as if reality waits for you, not courteously, not patiently, but at its core. This sparks a question that many physicists prefer not to voice too loudly. What counts as observation? Is it simply data, a sensor doing its thing? Or does it require the presence of consciousness? If awareness is part of the answer, then suddenly you, the one questioning, become the central player. You're no extra in the universe's story. You're part of what makes it, breaks it, and shapes it. So, every time you choose, are you just selecting a reality that already existed? Perhaps all you're doing is picking an outcome, while others disappear behind you like unheard echoes. If this perspective makes your thoughts feel more like tools for creating than for just observing, as though simply pondering something chisels it into the cosmos, then give the video a thumbs up. You're not just sitting there watching, you're making it happen. Could this be what the cat was waiting for all along? Not science, not destiny, but you. A cat in a box. A particle in a cloud. A choice yet to be made. In the world of quantum mechanics, these aren't mere moments to pass through. They're points of suspense where results don't just hang out, but actually coexist, at least until someone decides to look. Here's the twist. It's the part that still bothers physicists. Observing doesn't just show what's there. It makes it definite, locking it in, collapsing all those possibilities into one solid truth. But what if your own consciousness is what's causing that collapse? It's one of the most unsettling ideas tucked away in the theory of physics. The observer's role is not passive. So, you're not just watching the universe play out, you're a participant, a trigger. It's your act of observing that defines what was real from the start. Some label this the measurement problem, but calling it a problem doesn't make it disappear. The math is clear. Without measurement, particles aren't in fixed spots. They exist in overlapping states. It's only upon observation that a system freezes into one predictable outcome. Kinda like reality is waiting for you, though not politely or patiently, but fundamentally. This prompts a question physicists sometimes hesitate to voice too loudly. What exactly is observation? Is it just data? A sensor detecting something? Or maybe it's the presence of awareness. If consciousness plays a part, then suddenly you, yes, you, asking the question, become crucial. You're no extra in the universe's story. You're part of what makes it, breaks it, and shapes it. So, every time you make a choice, are you just picking a reality that was already laid out, while others fade behind you like lost echoes? If this notion makes your thoughts seem more like the crafting tools of creation than just observation, like just thinking about something is leaving a mark on the universe, then go ahead and like the video. You're not just watching this, you're making it happen. And maybe that's what the cat was waiting for all along. Not science, not destiny, just you. Take two particles, create them together at a single moment in one setting. Then separate them. One zips left, the other goes right. Despite being light years apart, with whole galaxies between them, if you measure one, the other reacts instantly. Not just quickly, faster than light, so fast, No signal could travel between them to send a warning. Welcome to entanglement, possibly the most mind-bending concept in quantum mechanics. Once particles are entangled, they act as one, no matter how far apart. Their properties aren't just in sync, they're connected. Change one, and the other's state is instantly determined. Einstein had no love for this. He called it spooky action at a distance. Believing there must be some hidden factor unaccounted for, he was convinced something explained this bizarre link. However, every test and Bell's theorem proved him wrong, quashing the hidden variable idea. The universe really doesn't obey local rules. Entangled particles act like distance doesn't exist, as if they don't need to send information, because they were never truly apart. Imagine that for a moment. Two particles acting as one all over space and time. Here's where it gets a bit unsettling. If particles can remain connected over vast distances, why not entire systems? What about minds? What if every interaction, touch, or shared experience leaves a real but invisible thread of connection? What if entanglement isn't the odd occurrence, but the norm? Then suddenly, space starts to feel thinner, less like a barrier, more like a surface stretched over moments that never really separated. You're not alone. You're never disconnected. You're part of an ancient web, even older than light itself. If that changes how you view distance, time, and separation, or what it means to be apart, then go ahead and like the video, because physics has shown us something beyond our understanding. Could it be that what holds the universe together isn't just force, mass, or charge, but memory itself? Imagine tossing a book into a fire. The pages turn black, curl, and disappear into smoke. But the story, the essence, the information isn't really gone. Not completely. In theory, if you knew each molecule of ash and air, if you could trace back every photon, you'd piece it back together. That's the magic of physics. Energy shifts forms. Information never truly vanishes. It's never erased. But what if this isn't always the case? Picture a black hole. You let go of something into it. A book, a ship, a person. The event horizon absorbs it. No signals escape. No clues emerge. From the outside, all you witness is the black hole gaining mass and slightly distorting. Here's the chilling part. In classical terms, the details of what went in, its story and arrangement are lost. Not just hidden, destroyed. This conundrum is the black hole information paradox. Quantum theory insists on preserving information. It's the backbone of everything, from the tiniest particle to the cosmic expanse. But black holes, as seen in general relativity, seem indifferent. They capture, crush, and hide information beyond a boundary that nothing escapes. So, which law fails? For years, debates raged. Some believed the information was lost forever, while others argued it must somehow resurface, encoded in the radiation emitted during a black hole's slow evaporation. Yet, no one could prove it. This isn't just about astrophysics. It's about the limits of human understanding. If information can truly vanish, so can meaning, memory, and even the essence of you. Imagine the universe having zones where laws fade, where knowledge enters only to dissolve completely. Perhaps a black hole is more than an object. It may be a boundary, marking the limits of reality's coherence. If that thought stops you in your tracks and makes you ponder whether everything we've done could eventually fade into silence, hit like on the video. Because at the edge of a black hole, even what we hold as truth can slip away. And perhaps the scariest part isn't the descent into the void, but the idea that no one will know you were ever there. Black holes evaporate slowly, patiently. Over eons, they shed mass as whispers of heat escape their boundaries. This is Hawking radiation, predicted years back, yet still unconfirmed and unsettling. Because if true, black holes don't endure forever. They dwindle until one day they disappear altogether. No bang, no fanfare, just a slight disturbance in space-time, and then silence. And here's the most haunting thought. If everything that fell inside, light, matter, thought, order, if all of it vanishes too, then the universe loses. Something forever beyond reclaiming. A page got ripped out of the universe's big book, tossed into the flames. This story isn't just stargazing or figuring out how things stick together. It's about the backbone of physics, called unitarity. It's the rule that says a system's past always sticks around in some way, only changing form. The math insists on it, but black holes don't care. They seem to vanish without leaving a trace, like the universe is slowly letting something go. If they all disappear, what's left of the cosmos? Just a vast, empty quiet. No structure, no memory, not even a ghost of what used to be. The black hole information paradox isn't just a science puzzle, it's a question of who we are. If the universe can forget, could it forget us too? Some theories try to fix this problem, suggesting that information lingers on the event horizon, a bit like a hologram. Or maybe it spreads out into radiation as the black hole blinks out. Or perhaps it's hidden within subtle correlations we can't catch. But we don't really know, and maybe we'll never figure it out. We might be facing something darker than science can handle. The idea that reality might not remember it all. That some stories, entire galaxies, maybe even entire lifetimes, might simply fade away without a trace. It turns the problem into something bigger than just existence, into the question of what echoes we leave behind. What if the universe itself has amnesia? If this tugged at your sense of just how much we're risking and what we might turn into, share the feeling. Because some paradoxes are less about the confusion and more about the loss. Perhaps the universe won't end in fire or ice, but in forgetting. Somewhere down the line, we started banking on the idea that anything could be figured out. We believed the universe, no matter how odd or gigantic, would eventually spill its secrets. That science with enough time and the right tools could explain everything. But what if that idea is just another grand illusion? What if there are realms of reality we aren't meant to reach, not because they're secret, but because they're beyond knowing? Every paradox we stumble upon, like time loops or disappearing info, or even the mystery of superpositions collapsing, whiff hints at a harsh realization. Our minds evolved for survival, for crafting sense out of the everyday, not grappling with the infinite. We're honed to find patterns in songs or faces, not to decipher the intricacies of 12-dimensional Hilbert spaces, or to grasp a universe where one event might spin off two different timelines, or where cause and effect can loop. We stretch, create models, run simulations, but it's like we're just watching shadows on a wall. Reality stays cloaked. Each peek behind the veil blinds us a bit. What if these conundrums persist because we're forcing logic onto something that might not be logical to begin with? Maybe it's not the universe that's faulty. Maybe it's us. That's a chilling thought. Not just that we're in the dark, but that we might not be built to see the light. That our questions slam against a barrier not of science, but of understanding. Maybe reality is too enormous, too twisted, too alien for minds tuned to stories with clear beginnings, climaxes, and ends. Yet, we keep pushing, asking, stretching our thoughts. Perhaps that's our greatest trait, not our smarts or our memories, but our grit to face questions that won't play nice and keep at it. So, if your brain feels exhausted, yet strangely alive, like it's butted into something too massive to grasp, like the video, because this series isn't about doling out answers. It's about peering into that thin line where knowledge fizzles into mystery and the haunting idea that beyond it, there might be nothing but silence. What if we're not late to the cosmic party? What if we're early? We like to think we're the latest arrivals in a galaxy dotted with ancient civilizations. The silence then feels spooky, conspiracy-laden, a mystery waiting to be cracked. But what if there's no hidden puzzle? Not because they disappeared, but because they never were. In that version of the universe, it's not just about being curious. We're actually all alone, and not by sheer chance. It has to do with timing. Maybe we're the very first flicker of self-awareness that's emerged from cosmic dust. It's the first instance where the universe has gazed inwards and questioned, "What am I?" Thinking about it flips everything on its head. We're not merely adventurers anymore. We're the starting line. The first echo in a vacant church. The first thought pattern. The first beings to craft dreaming machines. With that comes a hefty responsibility, because if we're the pioneers, our actions carry weight in ways we can't even begin to grasp. We're not just crafting our fate, but laying out a template for what intelligent life could look like. Whether we prevail or collapse sets the stage for all consciousness yet to arise, or marks the end of something without a sequel. The silence? It stops feeling threatening. It feels sacred, not a red flag, but an invitation. A vast, untouched realm waiting for its first narrative. But what will our story be? Are we a species that builds so much we forget our origins? Or are we learners, adapters, dreamers, and speakers? If you've ever felt tiny while gazing at the night sky, but now feel as though you've grown inexplicably larger, and it scares you, then you'll relate. We might be at the brink of something entirely unprecedented, with the first awakened mind in the void holding the power to shape the future. Narrative. All these aspects, science, paradoxes, and vast expanses, eventually circle back to something deeply personal. It's about you, about that soft, temporary form sitting before this screen, listening, reflecting. Because behind each theory, every telescope, and all machines, there's a mind racing against something. Death. We seldom confess it. Yet, our thirst for knowledge, our fascination with time, our urge to leave a legacy, all point in the same direction. As far as we know, we are the only beings who grasp our own mortality, and we fight it. So we imagine alternate timelines. We suggest uploading consciousness. We wonder if a soul can traverse space-time. We question if intelligence, once started, can ever realistically cease. Here's where it gets fascinating. The very science hinting that particles might entangle across galaxies, that time might loop, that information might vanish into quietude, also suggests, just barely, something beyond the finale. Perhaps death, like observation, isn't a terminus. Maybe it's just a state change. Some scientists and thinkers have speculated that consciousness could be a pattern, something that, if duplicated or transferred, might persist. Others propose that minds could exist in simulations, a kind of digital afterlife crafted from codes and memories, a dream that continues indefinitely, because it wasn't bound to biological cells to begin with. And then, there are the quieter theories proposing maybe this is the afterlife. Maybe being alive right now means your consciousness will always exist, not necessarily in this body, but in some body, somewhere, some when. It's not proof, it's not solace, but it's not nothing, because physics hasn't ruled it out. The mystery remains unresolved. If all this makes you keenly aware of your own breath and the fleeting bright nature of your existence, then it's worth reflecting on. Science might not hand us eternal life, but it equips us with the means to question whether forever was ever truly ours to begin with. It could be that wanting to live forever isn't about dodging death, but about truly understanding life. The universe is expanding. Each second, galaxies slide further apart. Space itself stretches silently, inexorably. As this happens, stars fade out. The sky empties. The night grows colder. It won't happen tomorrow, nor in a million years, but someday the lights will dim completely. The final stars will exhaust their fuel. The last black holes will disappear. Matter will decay, and what remains won't be silence, but absolute stillness. No heat, no movement, no thinking, just freezing cold. That's the big picture. The universe's heat death. A future where entropy takes over, when everything with purpose, structure, or life fades away. But here's the catch. If it all ends up as nothing, why did it even start? Why break the silence only to return to it? Why create awareness and then watch it disappear? Why take billions of years to form stars, molecules, and minds just for the tale to finish on a blank page? Some folks think the universe is indifferent. It lacks a reason, a plan. It's just there. Others ponder if this final quiet is part of something grander. Maybe entropy isn't the end. Maybe it's a reset, a spring ready to uncoil for another beginning, a deep breath before the next big bang. Or perhaps this is the one and only round, and the echo we're hearing isn't an end. It's us, our curiosities, our dreams, our attempts to inject meaning into a system that never sought our understanding. Maybe the echo isn't from the brink of time, but from our craving to be significant in a universe constantly reminding us we're fleeting. Yet, we keep listening. If you've ever gazed at the starry sky and felt it looking back, not with coldness, not with malice, just as in the video. Because science doesn't always provide the answers, sometimes it is the question. And maybe the echo at time's end is the sound of something that once had the audacity to care. We've talked about black holes and time loops, multiverses, and information loss, cats both dead and alive, observers shaping reality, machines, thinking for themselves. Beneath it all, each contradiction, every enigma, something has watched silently. You, not as an onlooker, not as a storyteller, but as the paradox itself. For here you are, conscious, exploring, transient yet infinite, a being crafted from dust, inquiring with questions no stone has pondered. You are made of atoms from stars that perished before Earth existed. You think in a language that grew from simple murmurs around a campfire. You envision your own end, and you press on. That shouldn't be possible. You're made up of components that don't mind you, lifeless molecules, absurd energy, systems that adhere to rules rather than dreams. And yet, from all that, you emerged, not merely breathing, but thinking. Here's the cruelly wondrous bit. No matter how widely science expands, how many dimensions we unveil, timelines we chart, equations we solve, the thing we understand least is the very one posing the questions. What are you? A signal on a nerve web? A spark of ordered matter? A biological glitch? Or the universe's reply to its own void? We'll never know for sure, because every answer doubles back, every path circles, every truth becomes a reflection. You're not apart from the mystery. You're part of it. Maybe that's what this whole thing is for. Not to crack the paradoxes, but to recognize you are one. A mind that defies its own explanation. A being conscious of its fading whispers into a universe that may never answer. And still, you ask, if that thought leaves you still, not with dread, but with awe, like the video. Not because you have the solutions, but because you dare to continue listening. Perhaps the final paradox isn't out there in space or time. Maybe it's right here, in this moment, the impossibility of you. And that's where the story stops. Or maybe where it starts anew.